Joining me today is Anna Khan. Anna comes from a Russian, Mongolian, and Korean background and moved to the UK at the age of 11. With that move came adopting a whole new culture as well. Dancing is an integral part of Mongolian and Russian traditions. Anna also has a wide range of hobbies outside of dancing, from reading to acting to hot air ballooning. But since she has started bachata, it has become a significant part of her life and a way to make close friends. Welcome, Anna.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's wonderful to have you today. Anna, with all your hobbies, what sparked that interest in starting dancing or specifically bachata?
So I started bachata when I went to uni in 2015, and I saw that they had salsa society, and I was like, oh my goodness, I've heard of salsa, I'd love to try it. So yeah, they taught salsa and bachata together.
Mhm.
And when I was introduced to bachata, I was like, whoa, actually, this is cool. I love the music too. It felt like I had a better connectivity with bachata. I mean, I still like salsa, but I spent the last 2 years with bachata.
So it was the music that drew you into it.
Yes, I love the music and I loved meeting new people. I still love that. And I remember when I left uni and then moved back to Bristol and I felt, oh, I'm not gonna meet international people as much because it's so easy. You go to all these random events and you're like, oh hey, like you're from there. And then I guess as you go into the adulthood, you're like, oh, that's it. But then when I started coming to Bachata in Bristol and meeting new people that are from around the world, it's like, oh, it's great again to be back in the scene. And yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't have to stop it there. It is a very international space, even when you're in a British city.
yeah,
And Anna, you've described your Russian Asian culture as quite reserved, which is quite juxtaposed with something like bachata, for example. Do you want to talk us through in what way it's reserved?
yes. So I will speak mostly for the Asian culture.
Mhm.
Even though I am from Russia and that's where I spent my core years, I relate more to the Asian culture.
Mm.
And I would say that in our culture, dancing is also part of our social life. So if you have like family gatherings, weddings, even if you go clubbing, our traditional dances are still very present. And say like if you're in a club and you're out with your friends, they will stop the music and they'll start playing our traditional music. And there's so many, some run away, some go onto the dance floor and start dancing it. And it's so beautiful and lovely to see. And yeah, any gathering you go to, there'll be our music and our dances. And the way it's reserved is when, say, if you go to see a performance, they will have traditional clothing that's fully covered. You have a hat, like no part of your body is exposed apart from your face.
Hmm.
In our traditional dancing, there's no contact. So men and women never touch, and the woman never even looks at the man. And I know it's very similar with the Caucasian dancers. By the Caucasian, I mean like Cossacks or like Lezginka in the Georgian part or like the Caucasus.
Hmm.
Just never connect. They also have similar values
Yeah.
and the way they dance. Yeah, there's no touching, there's no looking. It's always the man looking at the woman, but the woman always looking away. And that's because
Oh.
our culture is very conservative.
Uh-huh.
I think growing up with that, I still love watching it. I think it's beautiful. But then coming into the salsa bachata world, where you do physically touch each other and connect, I think it's also wonderful and beautiful.
That's really cool that they play traditional music in a club setting as well.
It's
I
very,
haven't come across that before.
I think yeah, because we are a small republic in Russia. Everyone is quite patriotic.
Mm.
It's all about preserving our culture because our culture is dying, our language is dying. Because we live in Russia, we're all mixed, which is okay, it's great. But I think we as a nation are dying out. So it's nice to see that they're still putting in clubs and stuff and people embracing it because this is our culture. This is our dance, our ancestors' dances from, centuries.
And
And
celebrating it.
yeah, it's lovely.
Mm. How did you find it going into bachata then, and it being a very physical contact and not as much deference based on what you're saying?
I think because I grew up in England, I became more open-minded.
Mm.
To me, physical contact and that openness, it wasn't like too alienating.
Yeah.
And going into it, it's like it is close, but because you sort of consent to be in this frame and in this position together, it's so it was okay. It wasn't like shocking. But I know like with my friends from back home and they see me dance, they're like, oh wow, that looks so cool. But it would be too much for them because I told them, oh, you should take a bachata. We do have bachata classes in my hometown, but it's just for women because men are not interested in that. And I think it comes down to being conservative and traditionalist, and it might be considered a bit too maybe vulgar in some cultures, such as mine.
When we look at the rise of social media and bachata, I can understand where that vulgar viewpoint comes from because it's incredibly sexualized when you look at Instagram videos, YouTube videos nowadays.
Yeah, I think because sensual bachata is becoming super popular. But when I show like traditional bachata to like my mom, I think, wow, like look how beautiful that is. There is connection, but it's just like hand to hand, or like the elbow to elbow. Even in the dance world, I've noticed like when you talk to salsa dancers and they're like, oh, bachata does look nice, but it's too close, too sensual for them. And it's like, no, no, it doesn't have to be that way. That's how it's taught in some classes, but not every class is like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're limited to where you are, if all your location offers you is a sensual form of bachata, then I can understand people going, nah, not for me.
Yeah, because I mean, I personally I do like sensual when it's with my friends or I feel comfortable with the partner, but I don't think I'd devote my time learning it fully.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
So you spent your teenage years and thereafter in the UK. So you're quite accustomed, would it be fair to say, to being in the cultural minority?
Yeah.
Okay. How did it feel being in the cultural minority when you stepped into a bachata class?
So when I started at uni, I think I was the only East Asian person in my class, but I sort of expected it. I sort of expected not to see because knowing our culture, how conservative and traditional it is, I thought, oh, okay, fair enough. But then when I started dancing in Bristol and we had Melody as our teacher, who is East Asian as well, I was like, oh, it's another Asian. I don't know. She like I don't. Oh, what? It was so exciting, and I actually remember YouTubing like bachata in Korea to see if anyone from my culture would dance it. And then when I'd see other East Asian people dancing bachata, I was like, whoa, this is so cool. And now in Bristol, we do have me, Melody, and a few other Asian students, men and women, and it's really nice to see. And it's like, yes, it feels like we're breaking this barrier and we're detaching ourselves from this notion that we've been raised with
Hmm.
because it's not vulgar. It is just connection. You connect with music, you connect with your partner. And for me personally, whenever I dance bachata and I connect with my partner, I am in a state of flow, meaning that I'm living in the moment. I'm there dancing to music and we just click. It's like playing tennis or badminton where you have this constant like bounce. And it's like, wow, I don't want this to stop. This is so great. And it's nice to see other Asian people breaking from what we've grown up with to
Mm,
find this lovely hobby.
that's beautiful. You're very aware of being in a minority culture within the dance space. You're seeing it grow, and that's really exciting. But also that it doesn't matter to you because when you're in that state of flow, it's just you and whoever you're dancing with.
Yes, it's like two entities connecting, just two little blobs stripped away from whatever we are, our gender, skin, culture, like anything, age. You're just two little blobs dancing, and it's really nice. And I remember when I went to London to check it out, and I saw so many Asians. I think I told every Asian I danced with, East Asian. I'm like, oh, well, I don't, I hope I wasn't that weird, but I
What did
do.
you say?
I was like, oh my gosh, like, oh, it's so nice to see another Asian dance, and they're like, oh, there's loads of Asians dancing in London. I'm like, oh, we don't have that in Bristol, so it's so nice for me to see. I did sort of calm down afterwards after having a few dances. I'm like, okay, cool. It's the norm here in London, but London is so diverse.
Mm. But I think that's fine if you're excited about it and you're dashing up to people asking to dance and saying how cool it is that they are also dancers. Why not celebrate that? Be excited about it.
Yeah,
They
yeah, I
may
guess.
not be if it's the norm for them, but that just makes it more exciting if it's the norm for them.
Yeah, it's like, okay, this is like a growing thing where more people from my culture are doing this wonderful dance.
which is only a win. So,
Exactly, yeah.
so when you've gone abroad dancing, Anna, have you found that you find spaces that are as diverse as in London?
Yes. So I've only had one experience of dancing abroad, the Barcelona Bachata Festival.
Hmm.
And I did see other East Asians, which was also exciting. I don't think I danced with many. But yeah, when I was dancing at the social and I did see other Asian female and males, it was exciting. It was still like, oh, another person from my culture. It's just so nice to see the diversity. I think it's so important to connect. It feels like any hobby that you do, it should be stripped away from any of those imposed borders that we were born into. And that's what I feel like this hobby brings. And my other hobbies too, like with hot air ballooning. Everyone's just connected. You just do this one thing, you blow up the balloon, go fly, land, that's it. It doesn't matter where you're from. And I think it's really nice.
I love that you brought in hot air ballooning.
It's just such a fun hobby. I love it so much, but it is like so international as well.
Is it really scary?
It is. So when I have flown in the basket, when we inflate and go up, it's just a bit scary how quickly it goes up.
Does it feel really weightless, is what I imagine?
Yeah, and it's just you're in a basket, you can just literally jump out if you want to. Because if you're in a helicopter or airplane, maybe airplane, you look out the window, you're high up, but you're like, okay, cool. But with a basket, it's just so exposed. It's like I'm a bit short, so it's up to here. But if
Yeah.
you're taller,
But you
you
could just jump out.
I could, yeah. And that's a bit scary.
Mm.
And landing is always a bit rough because you just fall on each other and you're just there like little sardines in a jar or a tin.
Oh, can you land anywhere?
You can land in fields, but there's also so many rules. Some farmers don't want you to land, so you need to
Mm.
avoid it. And a lot of pilots know where to land beforehand.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, they got like a couple in mind.
Yeah, and the maps will also be marked as please don't land.
Never
Yeah,
thought of the hot air balloon industry having its own map situation.
it's just an air map. There's a whole yeah,
It's pretty cool.
it is quite cool. Yeah.
I think you've brought a really beautiful dynamic here today, talking about how your culture is interwoven with dance, how it's fed into your experience, excitement, and joy of bachata, but then also bringing us back to we are two blobs connecting.
Yeah.
And that's all there is to it. We just need to strip it back a bit. And I love that the marrying of the two that you've brought.
Thanks. I do notice that sometimes when you have dances, and I spoke with various people about this, is that when you dance, sometimes you don't feel noticed that you're just a doll, you're just a tool. And
Mm.
I was just like, oh no, but to me personally, dancing is about connectivity. It's about seeing you and just being in this moment with you. Even if we don't click in our
Mhm.
flow, I still want to make sure that you're noticed by me and I want to be noticed by you because we're in this conversation and you can't play tennis and just look at other players and just
No,
yeah,
you
you
have to
gotta
focus where
smile.
you are.
Yeah, you have to look at the other opponent. Not that this is
Yes. Not that we're fighting here, but
yeah. Um
you're right. If you're not paying attention to the person in front of you, why are you dancing with them?
yeah, and I understand that there's also like a lot of ego and trying to be the best, which is great. I think if you want to be the best, it's good. But also it wouldn't hurt to notice someone and be
Yeah, I think wanting to improve and excel is wonderful, but it doesn't need to come, and it doesn't need to come at the cost of
yeah.
the person you're dancing with. Those two can
Yes.
exist.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand. And I
Hmm.
remember when I was in Brighton, one of my friends went to a class with Pierre Henry,
Mhm.
and my friends were saying that they loved how he made a point of when you're asking someone for a dance, notice them and don't start doing like moves straight away. Just connect to music, to them, see what their level is like if you're bleeding, so you don't throw in super complicated things. Just connect to them.
So no matter your culture, your background, your upbringing, we all come into this dance space to connect with each other. And just as you've described there, taking that time to notice the other person, pay attention.
Yeah, I mean, we're all just humans.
Mm. Anna, thank you for offering your insight into your experiences through your culture and how that's interwoven into your life, into the dancing, the joy it's brought you in dancing as well, and the excitement. and for grounding us back into why we're dancing and the connection we want to build.
Thank you for having me and giving me the space to talk about this.
Thank you for listening to the Empowered Dancers podcast. If there's an aspect of the dancing you would like to hear about, or a particular teacher you would like to hear from, drop me a message and I will try to make it happen. Make sure you subscribe to get every episode as it comes out. Thank you so much for the comments and questions you are already sharing. I really, really appreciate it, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.